Greetings, Internet faithful. I am some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and this is Rob Reimagines Monday Night Raw for May the 28th, 2018. I am in my car. I am driving back toward the mothership for another 4 to midnight shift at the weekly 9 to 5, and this is pretty much the best time that I have to record, so most of my videos, if not all of my videos for this week, are going to be while I'm driving to and fro. So hopefully all of the audio comes through. The video quality seems to be pretty nice from what I can tell. So with that in mind, here is what we're going to be doing right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what happened on Monday Night Raw and rebook everything. This is complete fantasy booking. This is headcanon. This is not what actually happened. This is what I wish would have happened because, one, it wouldn't suck. Because I could summarize the entirety of the 3-hour show from last night's Raw in a reductive and completely accurate statement of it sucked and I want those 3 hours of my life back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these same pieces. I'm not changing the actual matches. I mean, I'll change the matches, but not who was in them. So the show will use the same parts, the same beats in terms of where things are, more or less. I'm not going to change the order of the show around too much. But I'm going to book it in a way that makes more sense, advances more storylines, and doesn't suck. So let's get on with it. Now, I'm going to open with a tangentially sort of, kind of a tangent story, a little anecdote. I work in IT, but originally I studied the sciences when I was in college and university. And you're probably wondering, rightly so, Rob, what the hell does any of that have to do with professional wrestling? Well, I have taken many university-level physics courses, calculus courses, chemistry courses, biology. Then I transferred into computer science and took advanced mathematics and statistics. And in all of those classes, none of them were nearly as formulaic as the opening to every Monday Night Raw, seemingly for the past year. It's like a stop me if you've heard this before. Wrestler A comes to the ring and starts talking. Wrestler B interrupts Wrestler A, much to Wrestler A's consternation. They get into a scuffle, which is 2 parts contrivance to 1 part nonsense, and then a match is made. Well, that's exactly what happened last night. I'm going to have to stick with that, unfortunately, because it seems like to keep the same story beats and to keep the same wrestlers in the ring, it looks like we're going to have to do something very, very similar. But I am going to add a twist to it. We are going to have Braun Strowman start off by coming to the ring and talking about how he is going to be the monster in the bank. And we are going to be interrupted by Finn Balor, who is going to come down to the ring to let Braun Strowman know that he is not the first monster with his eyes on the Universal Championship. We are going to be teasing, a heel turn for Finn Balor, as well as a return of the Demon King persona from Finn Balor, because quite frankly, it's over as hell, it's entertaining as hell, and I think it's one of the things that if the fans pick up on the language, they'll be more engaged. We're going to do the hint at the heel turn again with the slap to the face. We're going to, instead of having Kurt Angle make the match, we're going to have Finn Balor challenge Braun Strowman to an official rematch, because I'd like to break the formula just a little bit. Yes, we can have it during the commercial break that it was made official by General Manager Kurt Angle, which seems to be one of Michael Cole via Vince McMahon's favorite catchphrases for the beginning segments of Monday Night Raw, but we'll go with it because it fits. The way that this match is going to end, it's going to be pretty much the same match of what we saw, because I think the match itself was entertaining enough. If the contrivance to get it going was a little bit out of it. There are some changes that we're going to make, though. We're not going to have Kevin Owens on commentary. That's not happening. We are going to have Kevin Owens looking on from backstage area on a monitor. We're going to have that happen. We're not going to have any type of interview segment or anything like that. That's not going to happen. But we are going to have that sort of thing go on. And what we're going to do is we are going to have the match go more or less as it was, only we're going to have the match end when both men are outside the ring and Kevin Owens comes down and attacks both of them with a ladder. Braun Strowman will eventually get the upper hand, do the ladder toss spot, because that was pretty cool. And we're going to set up for later in the show. It's going to be a no contest rather than a DQ finish in favor of Finn Balor. Next up, what we are going to do is we are going to have Elias in the ring. Pretty much exactly the same. This is going to be one of those things that I don't change very much of as far as this little tiny bit goes. We're going to have Seth Rollins come down and kick him out of the ring. Only we're going to have more of a threat of a confrontation between Elias and Seth Rollins. We then will go to the match versus Jinder Mahal. The match will go fairly much as you would expect a match like this to go, with Rollins dominating in terms of wrestling ability, Jinder Mahal making it back into the match through dirty tactics, because we need him as a heel, because for some reason they need Roman Reigns as a baby face at Money in the Bank, so let's just roll with it. However, we're going to change things. We are going to have this. We're still going to have the same chair spot where Jinder Mahal basically shoves the chair into Rollins' ribs. But we're going to have a spot where Sunil Singh will be distracting the referee in the hopes that Jinder Mahal can get the upper hand on Seth Rollins. It's going to backfire. But before the referee can make it back to make the 3 count for the victory or to cause any DQ, Elias is going to come down to the ring and smash his guitar over Rollins' back, roll him into the ring, or, put Jinder on top of him. We are going to have Jinder Mahal win this match. Dirty finish, yes, but we're going to have him win this match and the Intercontinental Championship. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I going to put the Intercontinental Championship on Jinder Mahal when it makes absolutely no sense? Nobody wants to see him as champion. Seth Rollins is over like crazy. He's a great champion, and he's really doing well with the belt. Well, one of the reasons is I'm setting up for the future, because what this now does is it creates a title match at Money in the Bank between Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns, which Roman Reigns will win. So Jinder Mahal is simply a transitional champion to get the belt off of Rollins and onto Roman Reigns. Why are we doing that? Well, what we're going to do is next week on Raw, we're going to have Seth Rollins face Elias in sort of a grudge match, sort of whatever it is that you want to call it, except that Elias is going to beat Seth Rollins. This will throw in a little bit of a wrinkle as to who is going to be the number 1 contender for the IC title coming out of Money in the Bank, which means that Elias and Rollins are going to feud for a bit, and Rollins is going to come out on top as the number 1 contender because he's not going to automatically get his rematch clause because of the loss to Elias. That's going to be the logic. Look, we can go with it. It's not the dumbest thing that's been on TV as of late, so I can roll with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a long-term feud going into SummerSlam between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns to finally turn Roman Reigns heel, because let's face it, he's getting booed by everybody anyway. Why not take advantage of it? Seth Rollins is extremely over and a hugely popular face. He's an underdog. He's fighting for his championship, to get his championship title back. That's a compelling storyline. And on top of it, let's face it, Seth Rollins can get good matches out of just about everybody. He made a Mojo Rawley match worth watching, so he can probably get a decent match or two out of Roman Reigns and make Roman Reigns look a little bit less like a schlub. Because let's face it, Roman Reigns cannot put together a good match on his own. He needs someone to lead him. He needs someone who is better than him, who can drag him along through a match and kind of pull a good match out of him. And Rollins is the kind of guy that can do that, and if you have them feuding over the IC Championship for a little while, that makes it all the better. So, we're going to move that around. That's going to be like a major change that happens in the show. So, up next, we had originally Nia Jax in an exhibition match versus some local jobber. This makes no sense because Nia Jax is the Raw Women's Championship. Like, right away, none of this makes sense. Here's what I would do instead. I would make this Ronda Rousey's first televised singles match on Monday Night Raw. And instead of it being against a local jobber, put it against somebody who's like maybe a call-up from NXT. Somebody who'd be a little bit more people be a little bit more familiar with. In a perfect world, it would be somebody like Lacey Evans. She would be ideal, actually, because she's also tall. She's also fairly powerful. She has a good look. She has some ring skills. And not only that, she's got the women's right, which is a pretty nice right-hand finisher. Putting her up against Ronda Rousey, who's a little more compact, but probably more agile and quicker. It's got a very Kairi Sane vibe to it, minus Kairi Sane's aerial abilities. But because Lacey Evans isn't available, just somebody who is more well-known. And as the match is about to start, that's when you get Nia Jax coming to the ring. Nia Jax then steps into the ring. Ronda kind of retreats to her corner. And Nia Jax puts on more or less the same exhibition. Now, I don't like how this is being contrived in terms of trying to turn Nia Jax heel. Unfortunately, the promo that Stephanie McMahon kind of forced out of her throat by having, by Stephanie having her hand up Nia Jax's ass to puppet master her into delivering what is probably one of the worst promos since Roman Reigns is suffering succotash catastrophe. Yeah, they're forcing a heel-face dynamic where none is really needed, especially in light of Nia Jax doing the whole anti-bullying thing, and now what is she doing? She goes back to being a bully and a heel. It's really lame, but look, we're going to try and make this as entertaining as possible, and having Ronda Rousey standing in the corner of the ring while Nia Jax does all of this when it's supposed to be Ronda's match to begin with, I think adds a little bit more. It turns up the intensity level just a little bit more than having Ronda, 100 or so feet away at the announcer table, watching at long distance. She's watching 10, 15 feet away what Nia Jax intends on doing to her at Money in the Bank. I think that's much more psychologically involved. It's not great, but look, I like I said, I'm working with the same story beats here. It obviously is a no contest. The stare down happens. Nia Jax laughs at Ronda Rousey, and by the way, why do we have Nia Jax back in her old ring attire? I really liked what she was wearing at WrestleMania and post WrestleMania, sort of with the gold. It was a little bit more flattering. It was a little bit more colorful. It gave a little bit more personality. And the other thing is, like, it complemented her curves a lot better. As a way of saying that what she's wearing now and what she's been wearing for a while doesn't really flatter her at all. So I don't know why they're going back to that. It looks like she's wearing a lot of hefty trash bags. It's kind of terrible. Please go back to the WrestleMania outfit. It looks better. Okay. This brings us to Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, the Deleters of Worlds versus the Ascension, with the B team looking on. This is our next major change. The major change that I'm making is it's going to be the B team versus the Ascension. And it's going to be the Deleters of Worlds either scouting from the backstage area, or it's going to be them, one of them, or maybe both of them on commentary, because I think it'd be great to fluster Michael Cole. I think it would be much, but it's a short match. I could deal with it because it advances a storyline. It actually has some long-term payoff to it. And you could make a lot of little subtle innuendos about Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas being brothers, as they are in real life. So you got a little something that you can play with. You can play coy with it a little bit and get a little bit of entertainment value out of it. And because there's going to be so many people on commentary, and at some point the match has to be called, it'll keep Matt Hardy's promo shtick under control. We are going to keep, however, the request from the B team backstage to a title match, because they are now 3-0. They have beaten former NXT champions, etc., etc. We're not going, we're going to have the same barbecue thing, but it's going to be a backstage skit. It's not going to be in the ring. That was ridiculous. That had absolutely no business being there. But the barbecue is going to have one major difference. The barbecue is going to be crashed by the Authors of Pain, who you will notice were not present during the barbecue. It's going to have the same kind of food fight elements. It's going to have the same kind of everything. But you're going to have the Authors of Pain show up, just basically clear everybody out. And that's going to set up a little something between the Authors of Pain and the B team. Or even set up the tag team battle royal. But at the very least, let you know, like, oh, by the way, we still have this big sort of monster tag team that's still lurking in the wings, and they pose a major threat to everybody, including the tag team champions. We get our next match, Kevin Owens versus Bobby Roode. Another change in the story here. We are not going to have Bobby Roode lose. We are going to have Kevin Owens taking control of the match. There is going to be the altercation on the ramp where the two of them are fighting. Braun Strowman is going to come out. It's going to cause a distraction as Kevin Owens sort of flees to get in the ring to kind of, assess the situation and where Strowman's coming from. Roode catches him with a glorious DDT for the 3 count. Bobby Roode has been jobbed out a little bit too much as of late, and I know I really hate the whole 50-50 booking thing, but I don't know if they know what they're doing with Bobby Roode, but they're really taking a lot of his heat. He needs the heat back in a big and bad way. Okay. Next up is probably one of the hardest segments that I have to kind of rework into something that's entertaining, because somehow Sami Zayn made his apology equally, if not more, cringeworthy than his actual in-ring segment from the week before. It was very weak. It was very poorly delivered. Sami Zayn, what did he do? What did he do? Like, what did this poor guy do from going from the main event on SmackDown and headlining a pay-per-view, while co-headlining a pay-per-view of 5 other guys or 6 other guys or whatever, but you get my meaning. He's in the main event and he goes to having 3 guys in drag doing a really lame skit. And then a really lame apology, because obviously the social media backlash was huge. This was just, this was terrible. It wasn't helped by it being an in-ring segment. It probably should have been a pre-recorded segment. It would have been something, I don't know. This is one that's kind of stumped me. I would think that I would keep it much shorter. I would have Bobby Lashley come out much quicker. I would have him be a little bit more forceful. The handshake thing and not letting go, and Sami Zayn kind of like screaming in pain from his hand being crushed, I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, the whole segment felt flat. It was horribly lazily written, and I don't know if it can be saved. I don't know if it's worth saving, so that's one we're gonna have to put a pin in that. If I think of something before the end of the show, which I doubt, we'll come back to it. But yeah, I would have made it much shorter. Much shorter. Wow. Anyway, moving right along. Drew McIntyre versus Chad Gable. Again, I would have shortened this match as well. You knew it was going to be a squash. It was exactly what it said, what you expected. I don't know why the match had to go quite so long. You could have had a tease with somewhere with Jason Jordan, but seeing as how we have to use all the same pieces that were there, just have the squash match. I would make it a lot shorter by having Dolph Ziggler actually do something, because in this particular match, Dolph Ziggler really was window dressing. He really didn't need to be on TV. He didn't need to be at ringside. It fell flat. And that would leave us a lot more time by shortening off the Sami Zayn escapades and shortening the Drew McIntyre-Chad Gable match to actually put a little bit more time into the gauntlet match. This gauntlet match, as it was on Monday Night Raw, was booked completely backwards. Actually, it was booked completely backwards in many ways. You start off by having Bayley interviewed in the ring, which itself is a time killer, and I don't know why they did this, because they started this match at about 11:15, so you knew this match wasn't going to be too long anyway, which was kind of a shame. But yeah, you have Bayley specifically talk about Sasha Banks and how she feels the contract is hers, but it actually said, the contract says Bayley on it. They made a special point of having Bayley call out Sasha Banks. The two of them never faced each other. They never had any interaction at all throughout the entire match. One change that I make earlier in the show is going to be one of the selfie photo kind of phone video type of promos. The one that's done by the Riot Squad. The one that's done specifically, well, more or less by Ruby Riot. Let's face it, she's the talker of the group. And we're going to have her talk about how they hunt as a pack. And anyone, and I want to add a line in there. And anyone with any intelligence knows that there's strength in numbers. I just want that line put in there. That's it. I just want it in there. It doesn't have to call out on anyone specifically, but I want that line in there because there's going to be a payoff to this. We also booked it backwards in terms of where Sasha Banks came in on this match. Usually what you want to have is you want to have your babyface overcoming adversity in order to win a match like this, especially a gauntlet match. You don't want it to be where your heel, who is 3 matches in, is in the ring, vulnerable, your face comes out as the last person in a gauntlet match, and then struggles fairly mightily to actually beat the heel who's been beaten down by 3 other people, which is exactly what we got here. So we're going to move the order around a little bit. First thing we're going to do, we are going to have Bayley start against Liv Morgan and beat her not quite as quick. I thought that was pathetic. I mean, they really made Liv Morgan look like the Mandy Rose of the Riot Squad. Bonus points to anyone who gets the reference. We're going to have Sarah Logan come out next. It's going to be, again, another competitive match where Bayley takes a beating, and we're going to have that happen where Bayley goes over Sarah Logan. We're then going to break it up a little bit. We are going to have Mickie James come out next because she is a hometown favorite, and this would be somebody who would legitimately get a bigger pop than Bayley in this match. We're going to have Mickie James beat Bayley, and she will move on. Sorry, just got to change lanes here, folks. The next thing that we are going to have is we are going to have probably, I mean, at this point, now we're kind of, you can kind of flip a coin on this, whether or not you want Dana Brooke to come out and lose to Mickie James, which is fine, or if you wanted Ruby Riott to come out and well, actually, no, or if you want to have Sasha Banks come out, sorry, because Ruby Riott's going to be last. So what I'm thinking of having is I'm thinking of having Dana Brooke come out, lose to Mickie James, because that will get the hometown crowd popping. It'll keep the crowd engaged. Next up, we get Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks comes out, and the two of them are very over. They have a very competitive back and forth. Actually, sorry. No, I made a mistake there. We're going to rewind this a little bit. After we have Mickie James beat Bayley, Sasha Banks is next. Because I want the two of them to cross paths. As Sasha Banks is coming to the ring, I want Bayley to cross her path. I want the two to sort of stop, acknowledge each other. That's it. So we've got it set up. We've got a reminder. So we're going to have Sasha Banks come out. She is going to beat Mickie James. She's then going to beat Dana Brooke, who's going to come out. And then it's going to be Ruby Riott. Now, we're going to have the match properly booked where Sasha Banks is really kind of on her third opponent, or she's had multiple opponents. Ruby Riott is completely fresh. And we are going to have this be one of those types of matches where every time that Sasha Banks tries to get the upper hand, the Riott Squad come out and, cause a distraction, run interference, and basically prevent Ruby Riott from losing. We are going to get to a spot at the end of the match where Sasha Banks is going to, you're going to have the Riott Squad causing a distraction to try and give the upper hand to Ruby Riott. It's going to backfire. Yes, I know I did this earlier in the show with Jinder Mahal, but look, again, I have to work with the pieces that I have, and the payoff is worth it. It's going to backfire. Banks is going to put Ruby Riott in the Banks statement, and just as it looks like the referee is going to turn around while, after dealing with the distraction of the Riott Squad, out comes Bayley. Bayley clocks Sasha Banks from behind, knocks her out, puts Ruby Riott on top of Sasha Banks. The 3 count is made. Ruby Riott is going to Money in the Bank, and Bayley joins the Riott Squad. And that is how we end the show on a very quick 4-on-1 beatdown. We don't even have to we can do a quick beatdown and have the 4 women standing tall over Sasha Banks to end the show. Because we finally need to get this stupid Sasha Banks Bayley thing into gear. This was the perfect opportunity to do it. They set it up and refused to even acknowledge it. Actually, no, they acknowledged it. Coach acknowledged it during the match. Saying that Sasha Banks would probably have rather faced Bayley in the last part of that match. It's like they had it there, and they teased it, and they keep doing nothing with it. Well, I'm going to do something with it. I'm going to force it to happen, and you carry that feud forward. past Money in the Bank to SummerSlam. And there you go. You could even have it where Ruby Riott wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. Sasha Banks becomes a #1 contender through whatever means you need and contrivances. And then you have Sasha Banks feuding with Bayley and the entire Riott Squad all the time while fighting in search of the Raw Women's Championship. And there you go. You've got some storylines as well as long-term feuds that work and make sense. And I still have nothing for the Sami Zayn thing other than cutting about 4 to 5 minutes out of it. It went way too long. It was just cringeworthy from top to bottom. So there you go. Anyway, that is my reimagining of Monday Night Raw. If you think that you can do better, hey, leave me a comment and let me know what I could have, ideas that I missed, things that I could have done better to make this video make more sense. If you think it sucked, let me know why in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Feel free to check out the rest of our videos on the channel. Check out Lee's stuff. It's really good. His reviews are very much in-depth. And he is always using his powers for good, whereas I only use my powers of cynicism for good when a show is complete shit, and I really want to put out a video that's more meaningful than this show really sucked. Because let's face it, Raw last night, the best thing about it was there was no Roman Reigns or Stephanie McMahon. So, anyway, I may do another follow-up video on why I think Rollins and Reigns should be feuding over the IC title. If you think that would be a great idea, leave a thumbs up on the video, leave something in the comments. Feedback is always welcome. I always want to know what I can do to make this better. And until next time, take it easy. Drive safe.